Hi. So in today's video, I'll be telling you more about um, the section Titanic, the section in Piglet. And it's going to be about my private student. It's going to be about the language school Britannia and the language school Progress New, which is just mentioned at the very end, just briefly. And yeah, I'll be telling you about the encounters with mainly positive people today. So, if that's something for you, if you're curious about the next events from my book Piglet, then stay tuned and off we go. So, I started to teach Mihao, and I have to tell you that he was, super excited when I was singing to him a song. I've got love like a river, I've got love like a river. Or, the Princess Pat lived in a tree. She sailed across the seven seas. And there's something about the channel too, and I strongly associate it either with the bunny, either with my, good luck sign. So when I stand in and repeat that I'm lucky, then I use this sign. Okay. So I guess Mihao was just happy about it because I think Mihao had this extrasensory perception developed, and he's Jewish. But then we played Body Twister. So I just spreaded the flashcards on the floor and I asked him to answer the question or just tell me the sentence, and then I would just go and do the activity. We would take turns, and once he saw my butt up, then he put his head down, and this is when he saw my topic, I think. And this is when I realized that he was, I realized it when writing the book. He was actually too young to see my topic. And then, they asked me about the bus, and with the bus, that wasn't really, when you think about the, what I described in the book Piglet, when I almost lost my contact lens on the bus, or, when I called my sister on the bus if she could come and pick me up, and so on. So when we talked about the bus, that wasn't so good, but then I showed them my hand, and they were happy, so I just stood out yet another hand because I was waiting for the money for the lesson, thinking, oh, this is probably inappropriate. I'm probably doing something off right now. So, standing with those two hands out. Yeah. So and whenever I would leave the lesson with Mihao, the bus that was supposed to come at a certain hour wouldn't come, and I almost always had to wait for the second bus, and yeah, I just resigned from day to day, and I'm so sorry. Yeah, because he was actually my best enthusiastic, one of the best and enthusiastic students. I also had Mihalina, and she was also so cute and loving. Yeah, okay. So when I worked for Britannia, I think I came across Jewish ladies over there, Aneta Kobiela and Miss Viola Brach, especially when I read Adam Bartosz's book. Brach, the surname Brach is mentioned with regard to Jewish people. We had a very famous brick factory that belonged to Mr. Brach, if I got it right. Okay, so basically I learned from these girls a lot. I learned from Aneta that I should always write my lesson plan, and I have to tell you that it helps me a lot in terms of putting the right schedule and having it have the lesson conducted in a way that is thought over. You have to have the lesson plan written down. And And she also mentioned visual notes. So back then, I didn't yet start that much to work with visual notes, but I think this is something that I'll have to look deeper into because I have no choice, I think. CELTA, Miss Viola told me about CELTA certificate and Miss Bożena Kula too. So it's the type of a certificate that, lasts 4 weeks. And, there are certain tasks that you have to do. You have to watch other people teaching, and you teach and you're being watched when teaching, and so on. So, and you receive feedback. And that type of a certificate is about 5,000 or maybe more, 6,000. Yeah. So basically what they do is they come and watch your lesson, they give you a visit, they pay you a visit, and they teach you how to do with those standards from CELTA. And not only because they have a lot of certificates. One moment in time we just had to write down where does a handout come from, and I'm like standing a little bit puzzled and a little bit angry. Like, I would just go with the book, I would copy, I would actually wait in front of the copy machine and in the queue, and then I would print it, and I wouldn't have to worry like, how do you even write such a thing that this and this handout comes from this and this source. But you know what, she was right. Because when you look at the system and you look at what happens on the internet, it's not like I never use the books from the internet. I always use the books from the internet. And the thing is, I never even thought about it. Maybe just, yeah, randomly. But most of the time, I didn't think about the fact that it's actually unethical and it actually is a theft. And when you give somebody a handout, it should have the name on it, because most of them will not look at it, but every 10 person probably will open the book, go to the library and have a look at it and do more exercises, and each one of them will be happy to know where does that handout comes from. So I think that was a great idea. And of course I was angry when she told us that. Oh my. She's adding me some work. Like, yeah. uh, and I think, where do I have them? So it's one leave to another. So I think the best training that was there was the training with gypsy cards. So basically, we spent 1 hour in one room with all the new teachers, and we did a lot of exercises with gypsy cards, and that's great. But after that, I started to live with 7 sets of gypsy cards in my house, in my room. Like, during that time, I didn't specifically keep them under my bed, but they were in my wardrobe, and they were also in my bag, like six of them most of the time, because I had a group that consisted of 12 people, so I wanted to have them working in pairs. So I had, like, yeah, 6 sets of gypsy cards in my bag, always with me. Like, if in case anyone would want to check anything with me, then they could do that. uh, yeah, okay, but as you can see, I survived. But it was really one of the greatest school I worked for, because I was like, anywhere I went to, there was no structure to give you support to come to the visit, that actually come, not just to say that they would come and they would give you the feedback, and they would come and they would really give you the feedback. And they really gave you the trainings that were really good. And I got the link to Agination from those ladies, and to Anna Popławska. And I have to tell you that it helped me to rescue my ego, because later on, I still kept on looking for more games and more games, because it was somehow, like, my thing. I had to do the research after work. And so I did. So it helped me a lot to have that resource education that was just so abundant. Like every week they would meet your needs. Sometimes maybe it would happen that, it wasn't the lecture for me, but most of the time they were all for me, and you could even get a certificate, which also brings in the question, like, I had a discussion with my friend in Holland about it. Like, how do you know when you look at the beautician and look at all the certificates hanging on the wall? Like, how do you know if they are like 1 hour thing, or how do you know if they are like 4 weeks and she had to pay for it and she had to be prepared to it? So we just don't know. So um, therefore it's probably best to standardize some certificates, so that once we look really at the certificates, for example, of food, then we really know what it means. Not that, there are a lot of them and then we really get puzzled in all of that. Yeah. um, So, in that school, I met two native speakers whom I liked. One of them is unfortunately an occultist, it's Stephen, and one of them is great. Simon has got extrasensory perception developed, and he was my best friend ever. Um, but the story of Simon is that, he actually, I think it's somewhere later in the book, so I'll tell you in some another episode. Um, And, when I was in Holland, I got back to working. So I have to mention the list. Forgive me. Timeline first. So when the first time I worked in Britannia, then the parents actually gave me the list of their signatures, and they asked me when I would be teaching the next year, and I told them that probably different days, and they told me that they would like to keep the same days, and it just meant basically they didn't want to have lessons with me, and they handed me the list, and they wanted me to go and leave it the list in the office. And the woman who handed me the list, she had a very gypsy appearance, darker skin, darker eyes and hair, and her daughter was just, a girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. So very, very unusual. So I did so, and then after a few years I got back working to Britannia, and over there I had almost the same thing happening to me, but this time somebody else was supervising over me. And when I had this conversation, over the phone, that I had two groups and those groups wanted to have lessons with a different teacher, it's because I was pretending I was sick and then somebody else did a better lesson. And it doesn't work like that. If you have a teacher who, back then I was already at the very end of, my employment as a teacher era. So I was really like skilled, because Britannia was one of the places that taught me games, and early stage was the second of the places. So I think I was really, really like prepared, and then add to all of that my research. um, I was good at it. But that was, teaching online. So obviously it's something different. But, Corona has gone by. So I already had the hang of it. And um, what I want to just tell you. And the same thing happened in terms of, I was told that, the students wanted to have a lesson with a different teacher. Just after 1 hour, it's hard for me to believe. So I had a conversation with my supervisor, and that was in Dębica this time. So the lady, Dorota, Miss Dorota, working in Dębica, told me, well, if you wanted to do those lessons, well, then you would do them. Like, she didn't know what went wrong, but she told me that I probably know it. And if I wanted to conduct a lesson, then I would do so. But the truth is, with having that experience, well, my approach was like, I'm doing like 88%. Like, I could do a little bit more, like invent gestures. Yeah. That wasn't required of me, like in a standard for every word, but I for example, could do that extra. Um, And yeah, and a lot of things happened in my life during that time. I had my phone hacked. I changed my job 3 times. So it's like, yes, sure. But I was also already, a veteran almost. So, therefore, my impression was that you people have this structure, and you showed me you have this structure because when you employ someone, you just check that someone and you adjust the number of hours you give them. So it's not like always, with a different school, it's your fault, you did that, and nobody gives you the structure, nobody prepares you, nobody helps you, nobody supervises you, nobody is, taking care of you and their own groups, because these groups are theirs groups too. So therefore I had this conversation like, what could I improve, what could I change, and what went wrong, and why there was no visit. But that was a different department, and you know mm, I still believe I just happen to work with, possibly, I don't know, I haven't seen Miss Dorota. Maybe once I have seen her 1 hour or so. Definitely Miss Viola, Miss Aneta, and Miss Bożena, have extrasensory perception developed, and they are good, bright, awesome people. And definitely the entire school has, the best quality from all the places I have worked for. And I'm sure about it. Despite, this last thing that happened. Oh my god. And then the flashcards thing. So, all right. Oh, um, I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to work out what am I gonna say next. Um, oh yeah, and I also remembered that Aneta, when I came to pay her a visit, she was like, I told her it was calm and clear, and she's like, okay, but is that all that you have noticed? Would you like to add something? And I was like, I'm thinking so hard, and I just didn't know. But I told her, okay, you know what? Maybe in the evening something would show up. And this is actually how I worked on my book. Like, I had channeled so much, and so much of the information would come from conversations later on in the day, like at night. Yeah. Um, so I think when it comes to Aneta and her lesson, this is precisely how the lesson should be done. In terms of being calm, being not everything should be on hooray, and not this pacing like it has to be exciting. Yes, there have to be some moments when we are exciting, we play games and we win, but there also have to be moments when you just manage this dynamics, and they can really do this exercising activity. Because when I ask my students to take a photo on the lesson and skip take note taking, and it was like, oh no girl, no. um Teaching on the same day, coffee chips, or what's trying to recall. Oh, so I didn't stay for the next year because of the lady with the list, and my room was changed into a smaller one, and um, yeah, probably that's why. And I was on the road to discover, but that wasn't a smart decision. I actually think I regret not staying there. But on the other hand, maybe we wouldn't have Piglet if I didn't go and explore further and further and further and further. Yeah. Okay. All right. And different. Okay. What I wanted to tell you, sorry, I tried to read my notes. I wanted to tell you also about one more school, and I was progressing. And when I told you about the conflict about the door, about the next door bar and the conflict about the door. That was Lady Kowalska and Lady Kapusta, I believe. So they participated in that conflict. And many years ago, when somewhere around the time when I taught at Britannia, I had this interview with Progress New, and basically, nothing went any further. But Ms. Kowalska just looked at my briefcase um, with my designs, and she asked if I would leave them the designs if they started to work with me, and I told them no, although I would do that once I would get employed. And their school was in Platz Rybny, and basically there is no school over there. But the thing is that with Miss Kowalska's sister, I worked for Britannia, so I didn't understand if you have your sister who's got her own school, then why do you work somewhere else? Of course, Britannia is the best school, I believe, ever, but my impression was that that the gypsy just enter every institution possible to try and control, try and control the silence over covert hypnosis, and try and control adjusting the reality all the time to people's thoughts. So if somebody thinks something, then if you like it, even if you're a good person and you have extrasensory perception developed, then you have to follow the rulers, and you have to just adjust your answers and even what you do to what person standing in front of you thinks. And I believe this is done in that way, and those ladies did that too. To be around Jewish people, because trust me, wherever I went to, there were gypsy people. If I went to a Jewish institution, there were gypsy people. So that's why I say so. Okay, so if you want to learn more about my book Piglet, then Piglet is free till Monday, till 28th of July, and if you want to get it, you have to drop me a line at lkinga788@gmail.com. And if you want to check out my course Amelia, then click the link in the description of the film below, and you can find all the info also on my website, Instagram, Facebook accounts. And if you like this video, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.